Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I got this article coming from Chinese news sources, and it doesn't really matter because it matters what China actually said at the UN meeting. And they finally said something loudly that I've been talking about for some time already. And this article comes from South China Morning Post from June 29th, 2022, and this is the title. China tells UN expansion of NATO or NATO-like body into the Asia-Pacific will stir up conflict. A senior Chinese diplomat has warned that the Asia-Pacific region would face turmoil and conflict if NATO was extended there. They're about to, because NATO invited Japan and I think South Korea to be observers at the NATO summit in Madrid, Spain. So China's envoy to the United Nations, Zhang Jun, said NATO has caused trouble in different parts of the world and should learn a lesson from the ongoing Ukraine war. NATO 5 eastward expansions after the Cold War, and I'm quoting this, have not only failed to make Europe secure, but also sowed the seed of conflict, Zhang said in UN Security Council briefing on Ukraine on Tuesday. Do you have any questions about the biggest topics? Yes, I have, and that's why I'm using the South China Morning Sea. That's advertisement. China's envoy to the United Nations, Zhang said, NATO has caused trouble in the different parts of the world and should learn a lesson from ongoing Ukrainian war. I think so. And then he says, and I'm quoting, the kind of turmoil and conflict that are affecting parts of the world must not be allowed to happen in the Asia Pacific, end quote. Zhang was speaking while NATO met in Madrid, where the bloc is expected to release an updated strategic concept to replace the version adopted in 2010. And I'm quoting, the strategic concept described Russia as a strategic partner and did not refer to China. Well, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, low IQ, said this one will speak very directly and in a clear-eyed way to the multifaceted challenges posed by the People's Republic of China. Just so you know, NATO changed this, described Russia not as a strategic partner anymore, but a direct threat. Just happened in Madrid. Sullivan also said Washington wanted China to pressure Russia into ending the war in Ukraine. There was little evidence China was supporting Russia militarily or was violating sanctions imposed on Moscow after its invasion of Ukraine. But Sullivan said Beijing had to help stop the war. And I'm quoting, we believe that China cannot evade responsibility given its relationship with Russia for speaking more clearly to them, he said. Well, China is more than friends with Russia. What do you want? Back off. Bye-bye. Beijing is particularly concerned that Washington is building an Asian version of NATO as four partners in the region, Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and South Korea, attend the NATO meeting for the first time. You think? There will be also a summit between the leaders of South Korea, the United States, and Japan on Wednesday. Moscow has defended its invasion of Ukraine by citing NATO's eastward expansion as the reason, a view shared by Beijing. But the US and Europe have denounced Russia's move and imposed sanctions on Moscow. Why didn't you answer the concerns about the NATO expansion? You just impose it? Because I think that they wanted it to happen. As the Russians said in about, I don't know, 5 years already, they said Russia is already under sanctions and the sanctions will escalate, and they want it to be like this. Sooner or later, we're going to get in a conflict. They said this before, and here you have it. Ukraine stepped up. Zhang said NATO should not use the Ukraine war to create worldwide bloc confrontation or a new Cold War. And do not not look for imaginary enemies in the Asia Pacific or artificially create contradictions and divisions, he said. We firmly oppose certain elements clamoring for NATO's involvement in Asia Pacific or in Asia Pacific version of NATO on the back of military alliances. And I'm quoting, facts have fully borne out that sending weapons cannot bring out peace, nor can sanctions and pressurations solve solve the security conundrum. Attempts to weaponize the world economy and to coerce other countries into taking sides will artificially divide the international community and make the world even less secure, Zhang said. The US has strengthened its efforts to maintain relations with its regional alliances during the Biden administration, including reaching a deal with Britain to help Australia build a fleet of nuclear power submarines by kicking France out, and the Quad Alliance, of which Australia, Japan, and India are members. You lost India. India is with the new club, but you know it already, but you still use it as a quad. It is a quad over their country, but India is in between and more leaning towards the new club, as I said, built on the BRICS foundation of the BRICS countries, South Africa, Brazil, Russia, China, India, and they would build that club. It's already in the making, so there's no doubt about that. They will create their own organizations, their own insurance companies, maritime insurance companies, and you'll see they will do that because there's no other options since, the so-called law-abiding West tips the scale all the time, however they feel comfortable to do it, and will serve their interests. And it's unfair, obviously, if you're in a neighborhood and you have a association, to see that the association is turning a blind eye on some neighbors, but not on you. And then you say, wait a minute, they did even worse than I'm supposed to be done or whatever. I'm supposed to. I mean, it's like I'm accused of doing, and they didn't get punished, but I do. I get punished. Well, I don't recognize your authority anymore. I break away. Come on, neighbor. Come on, neighbor. Come on, neighbor. We form a different association. What are you gonna do about it? We don't recognize you anymore. You don't recognize us. We don't recognize you. So what are you gonna do about it? Okay, military? I don't think you're gonna get in that kind of scuffle with us because we have also the same weapons you got and the same power you got. So it's not going to be a win-win here. It's going to be a lose-lose issue. And I don't think certain people who have yachts and houses and mansions and all kind of things and the families are on top. I'm talking about the elites in the United States. They want the world to end. Biden doesn't care. He's about his past too. I understand his philosophy of it doesn't work, this button. We should have started yet because everybody's like, don't let that guy start it. We still have interests, we still have lives to live. We have children, we have grandchildren, we have, have fun. Life is not over as this guy is trying to push the button. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.